All right, so here we are going to be looking at how do we change a fraction into a decimal. Well, the basic way of doing it is you just take the top number divided by the bottom number, numerator divided by denominator. Now, how you go about doing that might be a little bit different depending on the type of fraction you're looking at or what the actual numbers are. And there's also some other things that we can do to quickify how fast it goes, okay? So anyhow, so let's look at this first one here, 3 over 4. So we're basically going to take 3 divided by 4. So if you're doing like the old school long division, it'll look like this. So we want 3 divided by 4. Okay, so here we go. Now in this case here, we already know it's going to be a decimal, okay, because we're doing fraction to decimal. Okay, so we do need to include a decimal in our writing here. Sometimes you'll have more zeros all the way out there. This one here, I already know we're just going to need 2. And if you have this one memorized, which I highly recommend, you already know it too. So here we go, long division. So we go 4 divides into 3. No, it doesn't. So 4 divides into 30. Well, I know 4 times 7 makes 28, which is the closest I can get to 30 without going over. So that's going to be a 7. And then 7 times 4, that's going to make 28. Okay, then we subtract, right? Draw the line, subtract. 30, subtract 28 leaves us with a 2. Bring down the next 0, and now we're looking at 20 there. So now 4 times what makes 20? Well, that's going to be 4 times 5. So that goes there. So, and then if we do 5 times 4, we end up with another 20, remainder of 0. So we know that we're done. Don't forget the decimal on these, right? We put a decimal right there. So that's got to go right up there. So 3 over 4 as a decimal is 0.75. We used long multiplication. Now, if you have a calculator, you can just do calculator as well. So it can go faster depending on what you're doing. Now, with this one here, the hack is think quarters. It's 3 quarters. How many dollars is 3 quarters? 3 actual physical little coins called quarters. It's 75 cents. So 3 quarters is 75 cents. So 3 over 4 is going to be 0.75. So that's kind of a hack with the quarters there. If you have 1 over 4, 1 quarter is 25 cents. So there you go. If you're doing 1/2, most people have this one memorized, 1/2, that's going to be 0.5. So those are some good ones to have memorized. The next one's going to be a repeating decimal. So here we go. So we're doing 2/3. This is another one I do recommend memorizing, the 1/3 and the 2/3. So here we go. We're doing 2 divided by 3. So it's going to be 2.000 divided by 3. So we first look here, 3 divides into 2. Nope. So 3 into 20. Well, 3 into 20, the closest we can get, 3 times 6 makes 18. So we can do 6 there. 3 times 6 makes 18. Subtracted from 20 makes 2. Bring down the next 0. Now I have 3 times 20 again, or 3 times what makes 20? 3 times what makes 20? We have that again, and that's going to be another 6. It's still 18, right? And then we put an 18 there. And then we subtract. And that's a 2. Okay, then we bring down the next 0, and we got another 20. Now, if we're following the pattern here, I got a 20 there, a 20 there, a 20 there. I'm going to end up with another 6, another 6, another 6, another 6. So if we start seeing a pattern, we can go ahead and keep going with the pattern. So we can stop there, and it's going to keep going. So I jokingly call this one decimal of the beast, but anyhow, 0.666. And it repeats, okay? So we can write it a couple of ways. We can say it equals 0.6, and if we put the bar over top of the 6, it means it keeps going, it keeps repeating. So that's one way of doing it. The other way is we can estimate, and it depends on what you're using this for. If you're just doing some little calculator work, you could do 0.6 or 0.66 or 666 if you want to as well. But we are using the approximate symbol there, not the equal sign. It's the approximate sign. So the squiggly equals means it's some sort of estimation. It's not totally exact, but it's super duper close. Okay. Next up, 7 1/5. Oh, and the 1/3. Right? So 2/3 is 0.6 with a bar over it, and 1/3 is going to be half of that, because right, 2/3 you have 2/3, so 1/3 is going to be half of 2 of them. So 1/3, that's going to go to 0.3 with a bar over it. Okay, so that's another one. And anytime you don't want to do these divisions, just memorize it, especially the common ones, because if you have it memorized, you have less work to do. You can actually, by memorizing things, you can actually be more lazy. It's kind of weird that way, but in math, if you remember stuff, you can do less work. Let's see here. We have 7 1/5. Okay, so now here it's going to be, so the whole number part is the 7, so we're going to leave that there. So it's going to equal 7 point something, and we just need to find the something. Well, the something, that's going to be 1/5, or 1 divided by 5. So it's a 1 divided by 5. And in this case here, right, we got 0 point, and then 5 doesn't divide into 1, but 5 divides into 10, because we just pretend it's a whole number when we're doing this division here. 5 goes into 10 twice. And so if you want to keep going with this, we'll just do it real quick. 2 times 5 makes 10. Do the subtraction, and you end up with a remainder of 0 there. So 0.2. Well, this was 7 1/5. So it's 7 2/10, or 0.2. Now this one here, now remember, all of your fractions, like the terminating ones, they all are over 10 or over 100 or over 1,000. So like this 3/4 here, this 0.75, if we're going backwards, okay? If I wanted to go backwards, I could say, well, 0.75, that's 75 over 100, and then I reduce, okay? So this number, 75, that's the fraction. See, 0.75? Okay, so if I can take my denominator and do 3/4 and make it so that way it's over 100 or over 10 or something along those lines, then I know that my top number, that's the decimal. So the another way of doing this is doing 4 times what makes 100, or what's make $1, 4 quarters, right? So we're thinking money again. And so that's going to be times 25. And so we do the same thing to our numerator here, the 3. Get my screen to stay there. 3, no, there we go. 3 times 25, 3 quarters, that's 75 cents. So there's your decimal portion there. And this is using a different denominator. That's because your decimals are just special fractions, over 10. Well, and like this one here, this 1/5, 1/5, right? If we change that to over 10, well, 5 times 2. So now we do times 2. And there's the 2 there. So there, that 2 went there. So that's another way of going from fraction to decimal, because your decimals are special fractions. They're over 10, like on this one. Change colors here, over 10 or over 100 or over 1,000 or over 10,000. Okay, so if you can get it to having one of those powers of 10 denominators, then you can also get the decimal part of that number that way as well. And I've gone off on a tangent. So here we go. Last one here, we're doing 5/12, 5/12. Let's clean all that up. 5/12. Here we go. So we're doing 5 divided by 12. So 5, and we'll just put some zeros in there. Don't know how many we'll need. And then 12. So we know that this is, since the 5 is smaller than the 12, the numerator is smaller than the denominator, we know it's going to be 0 point something. Okay, so here we go. So 12, and 12 doesn't divide into 5. How about 12 into 50? That's going to be a times 4. So we put a 4 there. Okay, now we do 4 times 12 makes 48. Okay, now we subtract. 48 subtracted from 50 leaves us with a 2. Minus, we got a 2. Bring down the 0. 12 into 20, that just goes once. So now we do 1 times 12 makes 12. And then subtract. And then 20 minus 12 is going to be an 8. Bring down the next 0. So now we're looking at 80. So now we have 12 times what gets us closest to 80 without going over. Let's see here. Well, we got 12, 24, 36, 48. 12 times 5 is 60. What's 12 times 6? 12 times 6, 72. Okay, so 72. Because if we do 12 times 7, that's be over 80. So let's see here. 12 times 6, that was 72. So put that there and then subtract. 80 minus 72 is going to make another 8. Bring down the next 0. Oop, I got another 80, which means I'm going to have another 6. And that'll leave me with another 72 down here, which means I'll have another 8 and then another 80. So this is going to keep going. I see the pattern going on here. So it's 4.16666666, okay? So here we go. So this 5/12, that's going to equal 0.41, and then the 6 has the bar over it like that. And again, if we're going to use our calculator or something like that, we would probably just type in 0.416. That'd be a decent estimation for that. So if we're doing calculations on our calculator, we can't do a bar in our calculators for the most part. So, but that's kind of the main way that we go from decimals to fractions. The short answer is divide. It's the bottom number or the top number divided by the bottom number. And then that gives you your decimal, whether you do that long division, whether you do that on a calculator, and then kind of the hack, if they're an easier one, you make it over 100 or over 10 or over 1,000 is that. And this is also the part too, because with fractions, like if we were to have like, let's say 6/8, we would say reduce that. We want it reduced. They're both even, divide them both by 2, it makes 3/4. Now, how about if we, instead of an 8, we have a 3 there? 6/3. Well, in this case here, we look and 3 actually divides evenly into 6. And when that happens, we're actually going to treat that fraction bar as a division symbol. So we're going to do 3 divided by 6, and that's going to equal 2. And that's exactly what we're doing when we change from fractions to decimals. We're doing the division. If it's all whole numbers like that one, 6/3, it's easy. If it ends up being an actual decimal, then it's a little bit more tricky. We got our long division to do and that type of stuff there. So anyhow, give this a try and follow me, subscribe for more.